Hey, what's up? This your boy Norris. Welcome back to another sew along. Now today I'll be working on my new Knowme pattern design, which is ME2142. And today we'll be working on view A, which is the oversized button-up shirt. Now before we get started, if you're new to sewing or just need a refresher course, you can always go to our online sewing and design school, which is sewingacademy.com. Go there, freshen up on your skills, come back and then sew along with me. Okay, so grab all your tools and supplies and let's get started. Okay, so once again, like I said, we'll be working on my new Knowme pattern, which is ME2142. And today we'll be working on view A, which is the oversized button-up shirt. Now, if you look at the back, you'll see fabric suggestions across the top. All the notions you'll need, which include the buttons, and then also look at your body measurements and then go down to finished garment measurements to get an idea of what it will fit like once you sew it up. Okay, so now we're gonna go through all the pattern pieces that we're gonna need for this particular project. Okay, so first we have pattern piece number 9. This is the placket. You wanna cut 2 out of your fabric, and then you wanna cut 2 strips of interfacing just along this piece right here. Pattern piece number 3, now this is the loop that goes towards the back. You wanna cut 1 of these out of fabric. Pattern piece number 2, this is your front patch pocket. Now you're only gonna cut 1 out of fabric, but if you do want 2, 1 on both sides of your front of your shirt, you can cut 2, but you only need 1, and it will go on the left side. Pattern piece number 10, now this are your cuff. You want to cut 2 out of fabric and 2 out of interfacing. Pattern piece number 7, your collar band. You want to cut 2 of these out of fabric and 1 out of interfacing. Pattern piece number 6, this is your collar. You want to cut 2 out of fabric and then 1 out of interfacing. Now pattern piece number 11, you're not going to cut anything out of this. It's just a guide for your buttonholes, and we'll do this at the very end. Pattern piece number 8, now this is your sleeve. You want to cut 2 out of fabric, and then also pay very close attention to your markings. Just like all the other pattern pieces, you want to make sure you put your markings as accurate as possible, because it's going to pay off once we get into the order of construction at this particular time. Pattern piece number 1, this is the front. You want to cut 2 out of fabric. And then as you can see right here, it says left side only. Now these are the placements for that front pocket. Pattern piece number 4, this is your back yoke. You want to cut 2 of these out of fabric. And then last but certainly not least, we have pattern piece number 5. This is your back, and it will be cut on the fold. You will cut 1. The fold is right here. And then make sure you do your markings for that back pleat. Once you cut all of your fabric out and interface the appropriate pieces, we can begin order of construction. Okay, so the first step, I want to go ahead and start with some of the most difficult things we'll be doing for this project, so later on we can have a smoother order of construction. So first you want to grab 1 of your sleeves, and we're going to work on the placket. Now, you might not tell the wrong side from right side for my particular fabric, but my wrong side is facing up, as you can see with the markings. So I'm just going to turn like this. At the top, we have a double notch indicating where the back is, and then you have a single notch towards the front. And then on this side here, where that double notch is towards the back of the sleeve, we have the binding box right here for our placket. Now, you want to grab your placket, and just to remind you how to actually put this on the right side, your sleeve is going to be wrong side facing up, and your placket is going to be wrong side facing up, which means your right side is going to be facing the wrong side of your sleeve. So as you can see, I have markings here. All right, so I'm going to just come in a little closer so you can see that binding box, and then also the one that's on the placket, on the wrong side of the placket. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our pins, and we're going to match this up. Now before we do that, you want to go ahead and stay stitch in this corner here of that placket. If you look very closely, you can see that we have that stitching here, and we're just going to do a slash right into the center of it. Go to your stitching, but not through it. Just like that. So we're going to head to the pressing table, and we're going to press 3/8 of an inch here, and then across the top, and then down this side here, just like that, and then 3/8 of an inch on this side as well. So go ahead and give that a good press, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, so we're back from the pressing table, and we're going to go ahead and take our placket, and the back of the placket is the shorter side here. We have this long side here, that's towards the right, and like I said, the double notches to the back, so it would look just like this. Wrong sides facing up and wrong sides facing up on the sleeve. So let's go ahead and take our bounding box and match them up as best we can, and we're going to pin them in place. Okay, so now that we have it pinned, we're going to head to the machine. We're going to stitch following our guide, pivoting at the corners across the top and then down the other side. Okay, so we're back from the machine, as you can see, and then now we're gonna go ahead and slash right in the center. And once we get about a 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch from the top, we're gonna go diagonally into both corners, leaving like a little cutout triangle. You wanna cut to the corner, but not through it. Okay, so now we're going to take this and fold it to the other side. And then we're going to flip it. And now we're going to head to your pressing table, and you want to press that seam allowance towards the placket. And then on this side, you want to press it towards the placket this way. So go ahead and give that a good press, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, so we're back from the pressing table. As you can see, that seam allowance is towards the placket here, and then there. So now I'm just going to work on the back side now, because since we flipped it, the back is this way, but this is the right side. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this folded edge and we're going to fold it just past that stitching, and we're going to pin. And you want to fold it all the way up to the top the same way. So now we're just going to work on this one side. Let's head to the machine, and we're going to add stitch all the way down to the hem. Okay, so we're back from the machine. As you can see, we add stitch and it looks really clean on this side. So now with this side here, this is going to be towards the front. So when we take this folded edge here, we're going to place it the same way, just past the stitching, like that. But then also it's going to hide all of the construction underneath at the same time. Go ahead and place it, and we're going to pin it. And we're going to place it directly over the placket underneath, but we're only going to be pinning this side. Okay, so I'll make little minor adjustments once I get up on the machine to make it nice and straight. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the hem. We're going to add stitch all the way up until we get to the corner. We're going to pivot, and then we're going to come down this side, and then there should be a stitching line here where I have my pin. We're going to pivot, and then this right here is going to close out the bottom of that placket up at the top. Okay, so let's head to the machine and stitch this down. You want to make sure you're not stitching your bottom placket, but you do need to have it lined up underneath, but just don't stitch through it until we get to the top up here. Okay, so once you get done with one placket on one sleeve, you want to do the other one the same exact way. So now just take these, put them to the side, and now we're going to work on our back and back yoke. Okay, so this is the back piece right here, as you can see. Now, before we attach the placket to the top, we need to create the pleat in the middle. So there should be 2 markings. I end up doing notches, just easier for me to see it. And we're going to take, so we have 4, 2 in the center, and then 2 on the side. We're going to take 1 from the center, and we're going to overlap it to the one on the side, just like that. And I'm going to pin that together. And then the same thing on this side. We're just going to overlap and then pin it in place. Okay. Now head to the machine and go ahead and just tack this down. Just stitch this down real quick to keep it in place. And then we're going to do our loop. So do that, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, so we're back from the machine. As you can see, went ahead and tacked this down. So now you can see the pleat is formed. And then now when it comes to our loop, I went ahead and just pressed it already. But let me open back up. So it's gonna come like this in this rectangle. And when you wanna take the long sides and press them towards the center, evenly like this. And then after you do that, we're going to fold it in half and give it another press.
and then we're just going to edge stitch this one side here closed. Okay, so let's head to the machine, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, so we're back from the machine. We're going to take our loop, and we're going to place it on both sides of the pleat. Just going to pin it in place, just like that. Now head to the machine and then tack down both sides. Come back and we're going to work on our front pieces. Okay, so with our front piece, as you can see, I did a strip of interfacing just right here between that first fold line and the edge of the center front. Now this is to bring a little bit stability, especially when we do our buttonholes and our regular buttons on the front placket. All right, so what we're going to do first to prep this up, we're going to turn and fold it on that fold line all the way up, give it a good press, and then we're going to do one more fold all the way and give it a good press, and then we'll top stitch it to close out the fold underneath. Okay, but first I want you to go ahead, do the double fold here and in here, give it a good press, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, so I'm back from the pressing table. As you can see, I went ahead and gave it a good press, and then I pin it all the way down. Now we're going to head to the machine, and we're going to top stitch all the way down to the hem, making sure we catching that fold underneath. And then also we're going to do a stake stitch around the neckline just so it won't grow throughout the process of construction. You have two options. Now you can do it the easy way. You can turn it up and you can actually look at your stitching go on that edge stitch, or if you want your bobbin to be on the bottom as it should, I'm just going to feel for it, and then I'm just going to edge stitch it all the way down, making sure that I'm catching it. All right, so let's head to the machine and stitch this down. Okay, so now that we have both our front pieces prepped, we're going to go ahead and do our patch pocket. Now I'm going to put this to the side for just a moment. Now when it comes to our patch pocket, I went ahead and folded the top down a 1/4 inch, and I have the wrong side facing up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it with the right side facing up. As you can see, the fold is underneath now, and I'm just going to fold it this way along the fold line and pin along both sides. Okay, so now let's head to the machine. You want to stitch down this side here, but then also continue all the way down and across the bottom and then up the other side to have a guideline to fold, and then securing the other side as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and stitch all the way until the other side, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, so we're back from the machine. As you can see at the top here, I'm gonna go ahead and trim that down a bit. Then I'm gonna take my point turner, turn it right side out. Okay, and then give this a good press, and then you just want to press it along that guide that we did across the side and then also the bottom. And then once you give that a really good press, we're going to top stitch across the top, catching that fold underneath. All right, so go ahead and give it a good press, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, as you can see, we're back from the pressing table, and I went ahead and top stitch across the top, catching that fold underneath. And then now I'm just going to place the corners where you see my markings. And then we're just going to pin. Okay, so just head to the machine. You're just going to edge stitch, start on one side, down across the bottom, and then up the other side. Do that, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, so we have our patch pocket on. Moving right along, we're going to go ahead and work on our back and our back yoke. Here we go. So the right side is facing up. You have the top of the back piece. And we're going to take one of our yokes, and with right sides facing, we're going to place them onto each other, and there should be a double notch on both sides that we should match up. Pin real quick. Okay, so now we're going to take our other yoke piece, and with right sides facing the wrong side of the shirt, we're gonna sandwich the shirt in between both of the yoke pieces. And then I'm just going to re-pin where that double notch is. So now we're just gonna head to the machine and we're just gonna stitch all the way across using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so we're back from the machine. As you can see, we have our yoke sandwiching the back piece. And I went ahead and trimmed that seam allowance down a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do now is just gonna fold it up, keeping the one on the bottom face down. And with right sides facing, I'm going to take our front piece and we're going to align the shoulders, and then we're just going to pin. Just going to do a quick little easy, I guess they call it the burrito trick. So we're just going to take both the shirt back and front piece, and we're just going to roll it from the bottom all the way up, just like this, and you'll see the yoke here. So then we're just going to take the other piece of the yoke and we're going to match it up across the shoulders like this, and then we're going to re-pin all three together. Okay, so then we're just going to head back to the machine. We're going to stitch across both shoulders using 5/8 of an seam allowance here and then also here. All right, do that, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, so now I'm back from the machine. I went ahead and stitched, but then also I trimmed that down a little bit. And then now you can go through the top and then just fold it out, right side out. Okay. And then now we have our front and back attached at the shoulders. And then we also have a nice finished clean back yoke too, as you can see. Okay. So go ahead and give this a really good press. I'm gonna go ahead and do a 1/4 inch top stitching on here, on the across the back yoke, and then on the shoulders here, you just want to press that really good. So go ahead and do that, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, so now we have our back, our yoke, and then also our front piece. And then now we're gonna take one of our finished sleeves that we did at the beginning, and we're right sides facing. We're gonna match up the double notch for the double notch in the back, the marking here for our center shoulder seam, and then the one notch here. So let's go ahead and just pin across. Okay, so now just head to the machine and we're just gonna stitch this down all the way across using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, as you can see, I went ahead and attached the sleeve. Now I'm gonna give it a really good press. And we're gonna press that seam towards the shirt. And once you do one sleeve, you wanna do the other sleeve on the other side the same exact way. Okay, so we're back from the machine, as you can see, and we have both our sleeves attached. And what we're gonna do is, we're right sides facing. We're gonna turn it like this. And I'm just gonna work on one side at a time. And then we're just gonna close out that side seam and arm seam as well. So I'm gonna pin right on the underarm to make sure that that seam aligns up. Okay, you wanna pin the other side the same way, and then just gonna go over to the machine, one straight stitch all the way down using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, all the way down to the hem, okay? So you wanna close that out and do the other side the same exact way. Okay, so we're back from the machine. As you can see, we have our side seam and sleeve under seam done. Okay, so before we add the cuff on here, we need to create our pleats. Now the pleats are gonna go towards the front, this part right here. And then we're just going to go ahead and find your markings, and we're just going to bring them together, overlapping towards the opening. I'm just gonna pin, and then you do it one more time. Okay, so now just head over to your machine. You're just gonna base this down. And then now we're gonna go ahead and move on to our cuffs. So there should be a notch on one end of the long side of the cuff, and then on the other side, I just went ahead and pressed up a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now, once you do that, and we're right sides facing, you wanna go ahead and pin the cuff onto the sleeve hem, match up that notch, and once you do that, you'll see that extends 5/8 of an inch from the edge right there. So go ahead and pin that. Okay. Now you want to head to the machine, and we're going to stitch all the way across using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Do that, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, so I'm back from the machine. Went ahead and trimmed my seam allowance down a little bit, and I pressed it towards the cuff. And it looks just like this. And then now what we're gonna do is, there should be a fold line right in the center. I'll put a little notch on the side to indicate the center. And then you just wanna fold back, just like this. And because we press a 1/2 inch and not 5/8 of an inch, it should be a little longer. So when we stitch in the ditch, it will catch, okay? So we'll go ahead and pin both sides real quick. Okay. So now just head right back to the machine and stitch across here and then across here. Now the seam allowance is supposed to be 5/8 of an inch, but if it shifted, it might not be the exact on both sides. So you just want to stitch whatever the remaining seam allowance that sticks out past the sleeve. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and trim, but I'm gonna start closer to the stitch and then make my way out. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab your point turner, turn it right side out, poke out them corners. Okay, so now you want to head to your pressing table and give this a really good press. Okay, so I'm back from the pressing table. As you can see, it looks really nice. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and give it a few pins. Okay, and as you can see, that fold underneath is past that seam, so we're going to stitch in the ditch to catch that and close out the cuff. Okay, so now that we're down one, you want to do the other one the same exact way. Okay, so once you get done, the cuff should look just like this, nice and neat, done. And now we're going to move on to our collar and our collar stand. So first what we're going to do is we're going to take your collar pieces right sides facing. One should be interfaced. And then we're just going to pin along the side and then across the top. Okay. Now head to the machine. You're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, going up one side, across the top, and then down the other side, leaving the bottom free and open where you see those notches. So do that, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, so we're back from the machine, went ahead and did those stitches. And then now we're just going to trim the corners like that. And you see how I cut at an angle towards that corner? Okay, now go give this a really good press. Okay, so moving right along, as you can see, I went ahead and pressed, and then also I top stitch a 1/4 inch around the edge of my collar, and then with the collar stand, the one that's uninterfaced, you want to go ahead and press up a 1/2 inch, and then turn it right side facing up. And now with the collar, you want the interface side on the inside to be touching this side, just like this when we sandwich it. Okay. And then now you take the remaining interface collar stand, and we're just going to place it over the top like this. And there should be 2 sets of double notches here, and we're just going to align it up and pin it all together. Okay, so now head to the machine. We're gonna stitch around the top here and the sides using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So this is the interface side. I'm gonna show you the other side where that fold is, and just so you know where to start and stop. And remember, 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so now I'm just gonna do a little trimming. Now we're going to turn this right side out. Now head to your pressing table and give this a really good press. Okay, so now we're about to attach this after we gave it a good press. And there should be a notch to match up. And then this side right here should also be flush with the center front of the shirt. So I'm gonna make a few slits in the shirt neckline in the back, just a little bit to spread it out a little bit if it doesn't match up. Okay, so once you do that, it'll spread out and it'll fit. Put a few more here. And you can slip other places when necessary. Okay. So now let's head to the machine. We're going to stitch all the way across using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Be sure to keep this side out the way. Okay, so now we have the collar and collar stand attached to the shirt, as you can see. And then the only thing we have to do now is turn that. I trimmed the seam allowance down just a bit. And then now we're just going to tuck it underneath and making sure that fold is just past that stitch. So when we stitch in the ditch, it will catch through that seam and close out that collar stand. So go ahead and press that seam allowance towards the collar, and then we'll come back and pin and then stitch in the ditch. Okay, so I gave it a good press. And then now we're just going to go ahead and pin on the right side, catching that fold underneath, just like that. Okay, now let's head to the machine, and we're just basically going to stitch right in the middle of that seam, which is stitch in the ditch. And that's the same way we close out our cuff. Okay, so we're back from the machine. As you can see, the inside is nice and neat. That stitch in the ditch worked very well. I'm gonna go ahead and pin this closed real quick. Okay, and once you give your collar a nice little press, it should lay flat pretty good, just like that. And then when it comes to the hem, you want to press up just like I did, 5/8 of an inch, and then just take it and tuck it into that crease. And then now you have a double fold, narrow hem. And then you're just going to top stitch catching the fold underneath. And you want to do that for the entire hem. So now once you do the hem, only thing you have left to do are your buttonholes and your buttons. Don't forget, you have 2 on your cuff on both sides, and then you have the ones that go down the center front. And this is where your buttonhole guide comes into play, so you can evenly distribute it all the way down. Now, once you do that, you're all done.
All right, congratulations. Now, I hope you enjoyed this course. Be sure to follow me at Norris Danta 4 on all my socials, and also subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video.